White rage is not about visible violence, but white rage is subtle. It is corrosive. It operates through the state legislatures, through Congress, through the judiciary, through school boards. It cloaks itself in legalities. Because it's so quiet, it's so subtle, you don't see. And so I set out to blow graphite onto that fingerprint, to be able to trace white rage throughout time to 2016. And one of the things that became clear to me as I started thinking through how white rage works, it became clear to me that the presence of black people was not the trigger for white rage. It is the presence of black people with ambition. The presence of black people with drive. The presence of black people with aspirations. The presence of black people who achieve. It's the presence of black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage. And this society has therefore punished black resilience and black resolve.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right, so in today's episode, let me just make this statement here. You cannot talk about America without acknowledging race or racism just because of the melting pot it is, you know. And in today's episode, you're going to be reacting to a video of Dr. Carol Anderson, who's a professor, and she had been studying the trigger of white rage, yeah? And I feel like that is quite interesting because for her, she says she was really interested in knowing the exact source of where that trigger is coming from, you know.
Right, and also to support her claims, you're also gonna be playing videos of both white Americans and black Americans and their experiences with what they've noticed about white rage.
Right.
So guys, you can also let us know about this conversation down on the comment section. Have you ever been in a situation like this, or have you ever noticed, or have you ever taken time to study where the white rage comes from or what triggers it?
Right, let's watch and then we come back and talk about it. Remember to subscribe if it's your first time here, right? Let's watch.
Man, I tell you what, nothing makes racist white people more pissed off than me, a white person, trying to educate about racism and trying to educate about what white privilege is and all these things. And it's so funny because these same people will argue with me till they are blue in the face about how they're not racist and we don't live in a racist institution and black and brown people have it so easy and racism doesn't exist anymore. But then they will turn around and say the most racist, ignorant, vile shit you've ever heard in your life. The disconnect is amazing. And this is why I make content like this, because it's so important, because we do live in a racist institution and we are all raised in racism as white people. This is simply a fact. And the crazy part about it is every one of us knows this. Even the ones who will sit there and fight with me to the death about it and act like it doesn't exist. Y'all know white people are racist. Y'all know about the casual racism, the casual microaggressions that we are raised in, no matter where we live in this United States of America. And this is why I will never stop. I will never stop trying to educate as a white person about racism and how we need to learn. We need to evolve. We need to do better. It's almost as if they feel like admitting to a racist institution or admitting to racism makes them this evil, terrible person. And so they would rather double down than to grow and be a good person.
I think the real reason that some white people get upset or like don't understand when they see black people in spaces that they're in, or black people in positions of authority or advancing and things like that, the reason that they relate it to like, well, it must be like you're getting something that you're not qualified for, like it is racism, but there's another underlying part of that, and it really boils down to the fact that they can't fathom a reality where you advance in life, where you get a position, where you move up at all without stealing something or stepping on somebody or exploiting somebody. They can't, in their brain, They don't have any recall within their collective history of any time period where they've been able to build without stealing or massacring or doing something to somebody else. So like when they see another group of people, whether that be Black people or POC, in positions that they feel like, well, no, that's my position. And when they see them, they think that, well, you couldn't have got it any other way besides taking it from somebody and like stealing it. There's no way you actually worked for it, because in their history and present day, they don't have, even within the country itself, standing up the United States, they don't have any like precedent of like existing, like moving up, like building without taking something from somebody, without stealing. Like they have no creativity in their mind. Well, not even creativity. They have no recall and lack the imagination to imagine that being a possibility. So when they see a Black person or a POC in spaces and things like that, it's got to be the DEI thing, even though it don't make sense. That's the only thing they have in their brain. It's like the only way you able to make it, the only way I know you make it in this world is by stealing stuff and like, you know, exploiting and like taking things away from people that belong to them. Think things, and that's it. That's all they got.
I'm going to keep saying this with my whole chest because some people are not deep thinkers. I understand that you're not a critical thinker. This is not for you. This is just not for you. Scroll up. So, my point today is, well, not today, but at this moment, like, why does Black joy bother some white people? And some other groups, but majority is white people. And not all of you. You know what I'm talking about. You ever notice how the group of Black folks, like they come together laughing, dancing, and just vibing, and suddenly it's labeled as too loud, too ghetto, or too much? Jealousy. Jealousy. You know why? Because they couldn't strip that away. And it's surviving. But let's be real. It's not about the volume that's the problem. It's the vibrations. It's the freedom. It's the fact that we can still find joy after centuries of trying to be stripped of who we are. We still make something out of nothing. You understand? See, Black joy is like disruptive in certain people. It challenges. And where we're supposed to be broken, angry, and silent, it's like loving, living, and celebrating. So it's not just confusion, it's threatening to a certain group of people.
Every time Black progress happens, America always pulls the rug. And this ain't new. We had Reconstruction. Then came Jim Crow. We had the Civil Rights Movement. Then came Nixon's war on Black communities. And we got Obama. And then came Trump. Do you see the pattern? This country never gave up on racism. It just evolved it, coded it, tucked it behind slogans like states' rights and law and order. And now that Trump is back in power the second time, they don't even bother with the code anymore because they don't have to. And then some of you are shocked. But this is how white supremacy always responds to Black excellence, with backlash. Every time we rise, they always retaliate.
Being Black and upper class has in no way been a persecution for me. It has, however, been a front row seat to a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social, racial category you slot into in society. This rage flies under the radar, it's made invisible, it's been around for a long time, it runs on the same economic, political playbook that it has since the end of the Civil War, and it's hurting all of you. All of you. Unless you're Jeff Bezos, but that's not you. A very small example of this is a couple of years back, I was all dressed up with Black and white cousins. We're all dressed up. There's a good group of us, maybe 12, and we're going to the symphony. This symphony is it's manned by tons of volunteers, right? People who want to help you, people who are excited to see young people come to the symphony. And we get there and I've got my 8 or 9 tickets all connected. And this older white woman, member of my community, is doing the scanning. I can tell from the get-go, she doesn't really want to help me. She's peeved. And I'm thinking, why? I've got this huge group of people coming in. Like, this is a win for the local community symphony. So she scans all my tickets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She gets to the 8th or 9th one. I don't remember how many exactly we had. It doesn't beep. Now, mind you, I had to pick up these tickets at will call with an ID, with my name. And she knows this because she's a volunteer before I come to her. She scans the last ticket that has the symphony's name on it. I mean, it's got all the official stuff. And she explodes with this quiet anger and this total frustration. Like she's just like, she knew it. She knew I was a thief. And she loudly, in front of everybody, accuses me basically of stealing a ticket and attaching it to the legitimate tickets, which is how you should do crime. Now, that's a ridiculous thing. We sorted it out. We found out that yes, while she was following the rules as to what to do if I guess a thief comes and attaches a fake ticket to a bunch of real tickets, she did not know how to use her scanner properly. But instead of having customer service, instead of thinking about how one should approach this, she responded with the anger that was already inside of her. She'd already assumed and knew that this kind of place was not for people like us, and she didn't want to have to let us in. And if she could get us out on a technicality, on a quiet rule, and she threw up her hands, I can't help you, I can't do anything, she would. That is a very tiny, low stakes example of the work Carol Anderson, as a historian, has done in looking at the documented and demonstrated examples of rulemaking and code making that certain people in higher classes have used to quietly make sure that lower class whites and Black people with wealth cannot get ahead. When Carol Anderson decided to write White Rage, it had come after she had been asked for the Washington Post to write an op-ed in the wake of August 2014 when the Black Lives Matter riots were exploding. Her critique was that we were looking at Black rage. We were looking at physical anger, destruction of property, all those different things. And she was making it very clear in that first essay and then in her book that you can't understand this rage unless you understand the other kind of rage. That's the rage that uses your political power, your legal power, to write laws and little caveats into things to make sure that you undermine the wealth of people believed to be Black, and you make sure that people who are believed to be white, who are in lower classes, never politically come together with those people. Now, who does that cost? It costs the democracy, and it costs all sorts of other classes that aren't in the ruling class. Because what they're doing is you're undermining, as she shows in her book, you're undermining voting rights. You're undermining this ability for the lower classes to look at each other and go, hey, our taxes should be going toward X, Y, and Z.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the videos we just played. I feel like they've explained white rage really well, because there's also an episode, I think we'll be posting it together with this one on the same day. They were talking about this woman who was firing a Black girl from her shop, and she went on to say very unnecessary things like make sure you hide your bags, make sure you lock your car so that she doesn't steal from you. And when you look at the person she's accusing of stealing, the Black girl, this is literally someone, a very disciplined girl. The way she handles the situation,
from the impression she gave the internet,
right? The way she handled the situation, she could have chosen to be violent about what this woman was saying about her, but she handled it with grace, So you ask yourself, this woman, where was that white rage she was
experiencing?
Yeah, where was it coming from? What was the source? What was the origin? Because clearly that girl did not provoke that situation,
Right, and quite often than not, I do remember in several occasions me having asked Maren and you, our audience, why or where do you think white rage comes from, or why do you think some white people dislike or hate Black communities? And I feel like in today's episode, I've had quite an understanding of some of the reasons why this might be the case, especially when this lady, the first lady, said that it might be stemming from Black success, and it might be stemming from just the fact that Black people dare to be in spaces that during slavery or in old eras was considered to be only white spaces, right? And this also reminds me of a case we did just this week that has ended, of a nurse who was wrongfully accused of stealing a patient's credit card, and she was further fired with the charges of manslaughter, right? Unaliving a patient. And this nurse, she sued the company, and she got $20 million in reward. And in that video, So our analysis was she was probably being frustrated because it was proven in the court of law that was racially motivated, her attacks. Her employers were racially targeting her, right? So what this woman says about white people being angry or getting angered by the fact that black people dare succeed and reach levels that they don't think black people should be reaching. I do feel like I also support that notion.
Right, let's think about this for a minute. Yeah, white people have always had a 400-year head start, right? Can we go back to the days when literally right now there's white privilege, but back then, can you picture the white privilege that existed back then? That is something that even today's generation of white people
Still enjoy. No, they still enjoy it and reap the benefits.
Okay, not in the sense like the traditional times, because why I'm saying that is because there are other people who would wish to go back to those days, but only that they can't say it out loud.
Others
but
are saying it after
Trump became president. They're now saying it here. It's the reason why white women voted the way they did. It's the reason why white males voted the way they did.
And it's also the reason why farmers voted the way they did because
right?
in their minds, I don't know who alluded to them that if all the Latinos were deported, black people would have no choice but to revert to their farms.
Right. And also, let's talk about something else, guys. Yeah. For okay, this assumption that for white people, when they meet black successful people, the only thing they assume is, for you to have gotten what you have to have
there must have been a criminal activity involved,
or you must have lived the common stereotypes that they have about black people. Like, for example, imagine a situation where a cop stops a black person because they have a very nice car, and then because you don't feel like a black person, can be able to afford that. Like, for example, you're a cop. How are they able to afford that type of lifestyle while you're like that? That is where the white rage comes in, because you don't think black people can scale the height of
enough
success.
to scale the height of success.
Yeah, without doing, nefarious things,
Yeah, and I also love what there's a sister here who said that when poor white people are focusing on the fact on their white rage that black people are not supposed to scale some certain heights of success, they don't truly focus on the real reason why they themselves as white people are poor and the policies that the government are passing through. So instead of them coming together with black people to focus on the government and hold the government accountable, they're busy wasting their energy on white rage,
So I don't know. Let us know what you think about this episode, because we'd really like to hear from you,
Right. And also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.